Hello creatives, I'm Joanna Penn from thecreativepenn.com, and today I'm talking about how to turn your boring book into an engaging read, and I'm really talking about writing non-fiction today. And if you're writing non-fiction, you will know what I mean, or even if you read non-fiction, you're going to know what I mean. Sometimes a book will just be deathly boring, and part of us, like as readers, we want the information, so we might skim through stuff, but as writers, we do not want to produce books that bore people so they skim pages. That is not what we want to do. And the thing is, in the writing process, if you are bored with your book, then your readers will likely be as well. And the writing process will also be terrible if you're bored. And then it will feel like it's not worth doing for you. And I think many people hit this point, especially if you know a lot about your topic. You feel like, oh, I'm deathly bored with this. What can I do to bring it alive? So the answer is to bring yourself and your story into the book. Even if it is a non-fiction book on a topic that's meant to be quite serious, you can still tell serious stories. But what I mean is bring your heart, bring your life, bring anything you can that from your personal experience into your book so that it brings the book alive. Now, for me, I've often used excerpts from my journal. So I've got a couple of my journals here. These ones are actually from 2008. I think I did about 6 journals that year. I do a lot of journals, I take a lot of notes, and I actually have been through my journals in order to find passages that I have used in my non-fiction books to bring them alive. So for example, in How to Write Non-Fiction, I've got some excerpts from a decision I made 10 years ago now, 9 years ago, that really changed my life. And it was something that came from reading another book, but revisiting some of my journal entries around that time really brought it alive. And in the Successful Author Mindset, I bring a lot of journal entries in because when we go through stuff as writers, we often process things by writing. And if you bare your heart a little, if you share your experience honestly, then that will bring the book alive. It will bring your voice and a fresh perspective into what might be a bit of a dull text. You can also bring other people's voices into the book. You could do a survey if you have an existing audience, and of course get permission to use the quotes in the book. And that's what I did with Dr. Ewan Lawson with The Healthy Writer. We included a lot of quotes from different writers who were going through different health issues as well as their tips on how to deal with it. So by using those quotes, we brought the book alive with personal stories and stuff that just brings emotion into what could be an emotionless topic. The other thing is not to be academic about your writing. If you're writing a thesis where your audience is a professor, then fine, that's what you do. A thesis is a thesis, but a book for the general public that you want to sell, unless you're doing academic writing, again, slightly different. But most of us are writing books that we want to sell to a mass market. And if you're doing that, you need to speak in a more open way, in language that is not full of jargon, that doesn't shut people out. I mean, for sure, speak the language of your audience. Obviously, if you're writing in a particular niche, you're going to use the language of that audience. But what you want to do is make your book more open to the audience as opposed to closed. So sometimes we rely on big words when we don't need to, when actually we could be more direct if we use simple words. So something like depression, there can be lots of words that are used around depression, whereas, people might just say, I feel empty, or I feel exhausted all the time. The language that people use, whether you're a professional or the person you're trying to help, might well be different. So think about that. Don't be too academic. Don't use massive words. Try and avoid jargon, and that will help bring your book alive. And then also you could consider using visuals, whether they're illustrations, photos, diagrams. I did this with my book Career Change. I've got a number of diagrams that I actually did myself. on PowerPoint and then got a graphic designer to help me make them a bit better. You can also hire people on places like Upwork to help you do those, to make them professional. And you can also license other people's images, illustrations, that type of thing. So make sure you get your permissions right for your book. But that can also turn a boring topic into something that is more visual, that is alive. And you know, I'm a visual learner, so I really like having diagrams for topics that are slightly more complicated. I also really like the trend now with graphic novels, which have usually just been novels and comics and things. People are starting to do graphic non-fiction, which is a non-fiction book told with, you know, more like a storyboard, with characters and dialogue and diagrams. And I love this trend. I think it's brilliant because people learn in different ways. They take information in different ways. So if you can think of different ways to bring your work alive, that's really going to help people take it in. So there are some ways that you can turn your boring non-fiction book into an engaging read. And for more help on writing non-fiction, check out my book, How to Write Non-Fiction, available in ebook, print, audiobook, and as a multimedia course. Right, I'll be back next week with some more tips. So happy writing, and I'll see you next time.